Hi, fellow traders. I hope everybody had a good day today. It was very interesting to say the least. But, it was a day that we could um, observe and learn and, know how to attack it the next time, it comes around, something like this comes around. But, I'll talk about that a little bit later. I'm going to go ahead and go over my trades for the last 2 days. CCL, this was a ticker that I traded on Monday, and this was like pretty much an all day fade. And my goal was to hold it all day on Monday, and that's pretty much what I did. And Thursday I was kind of looking for this to do the same thing. We see it gapped up overnight. This thing started trading at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I mean you can see it just kind of gapped up here and traded around this 50, 51 level. I couldn't really, get past it. And then it started to roll over. When I started looking at it about 8 o'clock, that's when, I logged in and started running my scans. And, one of the things that I noticed is that it came back. It did fail to really push and hold above this level. And it came back and dropped below VWAP, and it had been trading below 9 to 20 in the VWAP and everything. It just looked weak. And so, I watch it very closely the last 30 minutes in the open. And this thing just looked weak, weak, weak. So my thought was that if I lose this level, it opens weak, I'm either going to short it using the open range breakdown, the 5-minute open range breakdown, or, I'm going to let it, if we get too quick of a wash and I can't get in, if this puts in too big of a candle, then it wouldn't make sense for me to try to do a 5-minute open range breakdown because a lot of the range has been taken up. So this one didn't. It gave me a good entry for the open range breakdown. Could still use this level here, 49.93, and also VWAP, as a stop. So I was able to get in, and it gave me, a pretty quick flush. And I ended up getting out, taking half off right here, and I was gonna let the other half roll because I felt it was either gonna stall here or the 49.25. We may get a little run down here to take out some stop losses before it, starts to push back up. But it didn't. We made this big candle down, and I just went ahead and took it off here because I said if it sets up, I'll go ahead and short it again. I just locked in what I had. I would short it again if we lost this level here. If it lost the 200 moving average here and it lost this level here, then I would look to short it, on down to the red to green line or green to red line, however you want to look at it. But this was yesterday's close price. But it didn't do that. It started to recover a little bit, but this price action was not defined enough for it to be me to take it for a bounce or anything like that. So I just waited to see if it was going to retest VWAP, and if it failed it, I was going to take it short, anticipating the eventual crack of this 200, which I really felt it was going to crack it. Looking at this trading here, I felt that if it came back and tested it again, we would lose it. And I try to post all my thoughts in chat so that you know what I'm thinking and what I'm looking at for this stock. As the thoughts come to my head and I see the setups that I want. And I was letting everybody know this is what I was waiting on. I was waiting on this crack. And it held it up for a good while, but everything's trending down. You had the 20 and the 9 putting all this pressure, all this downward pressure on this stock. And with all of that pressure, this thing's gonna crack. And it did. It didn't crack as well as I thought it was gonna crack, because I thought it was gonna pull straight down to this 49.25 where I was gonna take half off, and then I felt we would get the rest down to here. But we didn't get it. It didn't even bounce on this level. It bounced a good ways above it. But I had to leave to go to the doctor, so I went ahead and took some off, took half of it off here, and I was gonna manage the other half, on my phone. And so I saw it washing down, so I went ahead and put out an order for 49.25, right on this level. And I said if it didn't hit on this candle, then the next candle I was go ahead and mark it out. And sure enough, it went ahead and hit, and it got taken out on this candle. So this was a pretty beautiful trade for me. I didn't make a whole lot of money on it, but in this time and the way this week was going, this was a big win for me. I don't have the money or the account size to trade the Teslas and all of these that can fade 6 and 8 points. I just don't have the capital for that right now. And I have to trade within myself, and I have to stick to what I do best. And that's what I've been doing. So that was CCL. Today I had a couple nice hits on FINL. And one of the things, and I'll explain it a little bit later, but what I did, well, I can explain it now. What I did was I went back to look to see what I did and what adjustments I made last year in order to have a decent month, because last year I did have a decent month. And I was trading. I started with less money. Last June I started with $5,000. I was starting at $5,000 every month. Now I started with twice that, but I wasn't making any money. Things just weren't clicking, and I don't know why I didn't think to do this at the beginning of June. Sometimes I can be the smartest person, and sometimes I can be the dumbest person. But I realized the setups that I went to were my opening range breakouts and opening range breakdowns. And based on what the market was doing, or the direction of where the market was trading in the overnight with the E-mini futures, that was the gauge for me to determine whether I'm going to go look to go long or look to go short. And once I brought all of that back to the table, then I kind of slowly this week inched in, and you see a lot of my trades have been opening range breakouts and opening range breakdowns. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in a minute. But on FINL, I was looking at this, and at first this morning, the gap scan was just crazy. There were just too many tickers on my scan for me to even build a watch list. Some people have stocks that they just like to trade, and they'll pull them out and they'll watch them. Or some people in this case will try and trade the market. I'm not into all of that. So I just started looking, just kind of glancing through these stocks. And I wasn't going to trade these stocks who are reacting to the news, the Brexit news. I was going to trade the stocks based on what I trade every day. I look for a catalyst, earnings, or something. And FINL had earnings come out, and let me show you. So when I looked at it, saw it had earnings come out, early this morning. It was, I think they announced it at 6 o'clock. Then we had a conference call. And, by the time I started looking at it at 8 o'clock, and, this didn't hit my scan until, probably around 8:30 or so. And when I saw that it had a conference call, I saw it had earnings, and I saw it was trading above VWAP, above the 9, above the 20. We did get a little pullback here to the 20, but what it did, you know, between 9:30 and between 9 and 9:30, that was going to determine what I was going to do. Now, typically, I would look at the E-mini futures, but we'll see. I'll show you in a minute what happened to it. I knew all I needed to do was, even though I was looking at it and it was telling me that I could go long, without any concern, I was, just playing what I saw, playing the price action. So I knew that I was looking for an opening range breakout. And you can see all of these levels, it's real crowded. But if this had earnings and it had some steam behind it, it was going to blow through these levels. Possibly stop here or maybe even run up to 2017. But these three levels, I didn't really give any consideration to at this point because I felt we could get some momentum and kind of push through this. So I caught it right here, 5-minute opening range breakout. And before I could turn around, this thing had run up to 19 bucks. It did this in a matter of seconds. So there was no time to even alert this, how fast this thing moved. And actually, I froze. I didn't know what the hell to do. Do I cut it? Do I take this profit and run? Or do I just wait and see what this thing does? So, I just kind of got myself back together. And then this thing did another pop. And so I said, oh, hell, this time I'm going to try to take it off. And I just did a market order and ended up getting filled. I hit the market order up here around 70 in the 70s, and I didn't get filled until right here at 56 is the average that I got filled at. So this thing dropped 30 cents. It ran up and dropped 30 cents in no time. So I was out. And what I said I was going to do is just kind of wait for this thing to settle down. I had booked over $1,000 in profit, so I wasn't concerned about anything. If I didn't trade anymore that day, oh well. If this thing set up off 1959, the way this thing had moved on these two candles, I would have had no problem taking it long, even though we had all of these big moves. But it closed all the way back down here below this 1912 level. And I thought it was rejecting here. So I said, well, let's wait and see. And possibly I'll take it off the VWAP again. But it never did pull back. And I waited for it to get over this 1912. And I was watching the 2-minute chart. And once that 2-minute candle closed above this 1912, that's when I got in. I got in at 1926, I believe. And I was looking for, a push through this on up. Well, this thing looks like it slowed down. It looked like the momentum was going. And I went ahead and took some off here at 1950. It just looked like it was going to get stuck in the 50s. And we had a pullback, so I was going to take it off at break even, just kind of protect what I had. Had to put my order in here at 1926. And only 300 shares got filled. That's it. Because it was at 1926, 300 shares got filled, and it dropped to 1919. And it just blew past my stop. So at this point, I just took it off. I took the stop off, and I said, if it bounces, I'll go ahead and add. And I mentioned that in chat that if this thing bounced, I would look to just add back for the move up, but didn't have the guts to add, even though this was perfect bounce. I mean, it came down, almost tapped VWAP, hit this candle, and it got bought right back up, and it still closed above the 9. This candle open, strong. I could have gotten in right here. Even if I had got in right here, this would have been a nice trade. But I was waiting for it to hit this 2017 because I was looking to short it. I thought we would get a pullback here, at least back down to VWAP. I didn't think the 9 was going to hold it up. And I kind of waited to see if it was going to reject this level. And it did. This level held for a long time, this 2017. But one lesson I learned is you've got the 9. If it's still pushing up, you need to be wary of it. And right here, we're setting up for a flat top breakout. This thing was gearing up to push this 2017 level. And I almost got back in, here. After I got out here, I started to get back in this area here because I knew this thing was gearing up to pop this level. And I didn't mind taking it from 2017 to 2067 is 50 cents. 1,000 shares on 50 cents, $500. So, but I didn't do it. It was just hard because this was so choppy now. And, I was happy with the day I had and I wasn't willing to give anything back. So I just never took this trade. Even though it did do what I was looking for it to do, it was just too choppy. The price action wasn't good, and I just left it at that. I did take another trade, but I had to get out of it prematurely because my Thinkorswim platform froze, and I was going to have to shut everything down. And the trade was just starting to work. It could still go either way. And better safe than sorry, I went ahead and took it off. It eventually made a little move up. It was a reversal trade, but I took it off at practically break even. I lost a cent on it or something like that. But no, really no need to show you that. The one thing I did want to show you, a couple of things that may be pretty interesting to you. When I tell you, I look at the E-mini futures and look at what it did overnight. It's the E-mini S&P 500 index futures. And what I'm looking for is what it did the night before. What did it do the night before? And when I went short on Thursday, this is when the market opened. This was rolling over. And it was starting to go below the 9, below the 20, below the VWAP. This is giving me more conviction that I need to be on this, looking at a stock that's going to open weak and possibly give me a 5-minute open range breakdown. But then you had the 200 here, which was probably going to cause this to bounce and come back up. So we could get the quick fade, on a stock that opens weak, get the 5-minute open range breakdown, and then when it hits, it's going to hit support. You can catch the bounce up. And so I'm using this and I'm looking at the market. I'm looking at where it's trading. And you can see this day, the previous night up into the morning, it's trading around the VWAP. It's real close. Everything is close. The VWAP, the moving averages, and all of that. So when it's this close, it can go. You can trade to the downside or the upside, and not really worry about the market interfering with your trade. I don't have any bias when it's like this. But when it starts to roll over, when it starts selling off, and I'm looking at this going into 9 o'clock along with the stock that I'm going to trade, and it's starting to show weakness, then my bias is going to be to the short side. Because to me, this is a good indication of how the market is going to trade. And if it doesn't give me any resolution in the overnight and early morning trades, I'm going to look at it going into open, because this is when the people are really going to start coming in, and it's going to shape, the scope of the market for the day. But another interesting thing, last night when I was watching the results coming in, you can see when the sentiment turned, when everybody started predicting that the Brexit vote was going to be in favor of them leaving, that's when you started seeing the bottom fall out. Now, we did get a fall here, then it bounced. All of this is just conflicting news, because you still had some people saying that it's too close to call. And some people were saying that all of the major precincts were in. But you got to understand, this is just a referendum. This is not set in stone. This is a referendum that the people voted, and the majority voted that they wanted to leave the union. But the country's still very divided, and there are things that they're going to have to do in order to make this transition smoothly. They can't secede from the union without having a plan, and without having things in place that they didn't have to worry about being part of the union. So that's where all this came from. And then once Bloomberg and some of the other people just came out and said that it appears that the vote to leave is going to win, that Brexit's going to win, and that's when all of this came, and it just tanked. And then this was a major support that I was looking at, and I felt that if it lost this, it was going to be lights out. And sure enough, as more solid news came out and more of the results came in that confirmed it, it was ready to tank. And once it got hit in 1999, they shut it down. You can see they halted it pretty much, and all the orders that were going through at 1999. That was it. And so they stopped it right there. They stopped the bleeding, and you can see it never really came back down to it. Never really came back down to it. So at 9 o'clock, I'm watching this, and going into the open, we started to see some upticks here. And so watching this, and then I'm watching the SPY at open as well, this gave me conviction to go long and take my opening range breakout trade, that I took. That was just another piece of the puzzle. This just helps me determine the sentiment of the market. Now, this isn't exact science, but it works 70-80% of the time, and that's what keeps me on the right side of a lot of these trades. Something that I want to show you is the last thing I want to share with you. I'll compare. I went back, and like I said, I went back and looked at my. Let me see. I need to get this over here. I went back and looked at my month last year, and here we go. And I wanted to compare June last year with June this year. and how my stats look. You can see last year, my net profit was right at 9. Right now, with 1 week to go, it's at 73. So I'm about where I was, which is not good because I should be bringing in more because I'm trading with more. I should be bringing in more, but it looks like I'm gonna probably match last year at best, and that's it's good, but it's not good. But the other thing I noticed last year, the long trades versus short trades, I had 66 long trades, 24 short trades. Look at how many trades I have at this point this year. Only 16, 4 long and 12 short. And this was alarming to me because this tells me that this month was terrible. Either I was terrible or the market was terrible, because to have 50 less trades on the long side, really, that's not even that's all trades. 16. I had 90 trades all together last year for the month. We've got 4 days left, and I've got 16 trades. My percent is higher. It's skewed. My percent profitable rate is skewed because of how little trades I take and how I don't really risk as much as an average trader risks. But this is just crazy. When I saw this, my average losing trade is double. That's a little bit scary. My largest losing trade this month was 216. Last month I had two $600 losers, which was just insane for me. But this is more, like me. But the reason why I keep these notes, and the reason why I always suggest to everybody I work with that you need to keep a journal of your trades and all of that. So when times like this happen, you can go to it. Hopefully you won't go brain dead for 2 weeks like I did and forget to go back and look at what I did last summer. But I think I'm back on track now, so you should start seeing some improvements, and I probably will start taking more trades. More of my opening range breakouts or breakdowns. But I thought that was interesting, and just kind of wanted to share that with you. Let me cancel it. All right, so lastly, this is where I'm at. For this week, this is how this week looked. Didn't have any trades Tuesday. Just modest. 544, 345, 582, and then the day was the good day. And we probably had a little bit more momentum than we would normally have because of this Brexit. We did have a lot more volatility in the market. The SPY traded, very heavy, with a lot more volume at the start of the day. So, everything just kind of was good for this day. You just had to be on the right side and not chase anything. You just had to be yourself. There were a lot of people trading gold and NUGT and all, that don't normally trade it. But I guess they heard somebody say it was going to be volatile and you can make money. There were other ETFs that people were just trading. Some people did good. A lot of people lost money, but you just can't, if you don't normally do it, don't jump in. Just take your time, sit back, relax, observe. And now I know next time, I know exactly what to do in this market. forget the hype. Just do what you do and take advantage of the added volatility, which will probably add more range to the trades that you normally take. So I have a game plan next year or the next time that something like this happens. Well, that's it. That's long enough. I hope everybody has a great weekend. And Monday I'll be out, so I won't be in chat at all Monday. But I'll be back Tuesday, ready to kind of close out the week. So that kind of takes one of the days. So I only have 3 days, to kind of end this week on a strong note. So hopefully, we can do it in these 3 days that I do have. All right, so we'll see everybody Tuesday morning in chat. Everybody have a great weekend.